Hello, everybody. All right, so here I am at home. I wish I could be there with you, but I will be soon. We just have 2 classes this week, and we're not going to stop. We're going to keep moving through the curriculum, and I'm going to try to present here in these videos what it is that you're going to get from these lessons. And of course, Miss Loving is there to help you through it and to make sure that you're understanding the big concepts. You are going to be doing a lot of annotating this week, not writing essays, not writing paragraphs, but taking a text that I give you and writing notes in the margins. That note-taking is the big skill of this unit, and it's a sign of comprehension. So I'll explain that when we get into the assignment, but that's the gist of what we're doing here. Our content is the Declaration of Independence, something you know. So the whole week will be about this document. All right, so let's dive in. The first thing that we would have done in class is look at LinManuel, sort of explaining how he came up with the musical Hamilton. I can't show it to you because it has to be under my account, but I want you to at least hear from me that his research advice is to make sure you're treating history like what it was, which is a drama between real people. And they made it up as they went. Nowhere is that more true than with the founding fathers. They were not predestined to start a country. They were just people living in this new place, and then at one point deciding to do something extraordinary. Just like us, living as we are now in 2022 with our lives in front of us, you're each going to go on to do something, and who knows what. And you will make history in your own way with whatever that thing is. When we look back at these documents, we tend to see them as boring or sort of dead history, but we need to try to animate them and remind ourselves that these were characters, real people. And I think that's what the musical does so well. So that's what he says essentially. And in the clip we're going to watch today, or you're going to watch in class, you'll see evidence that they are just making it up as they go. So that is coming up. The Declaration of Independence scene you're about to see with Miss Loving features Thomas Jefferson, who was tasked with writing the Declaration of Independence. So he was assigned to write it, like you are being assigned to write things from us. He was assigned to write it from a committee that he sat on. Other members of the committee, John Adams, Ben Franklin, others too. Those are the big two, though, that you know. Most Americans, when it was released, didn't know who wrote it. They just knew that it was a collective document from all of Congress. So we know now that Thomas Jefferson was the author of the Declaration of Independence, but it was a committee that did it together. What I want you to see is a fictionalization of that. So most of today is you looking at the document and trying to understand it. This clip will help. This is about a 3.5-minute clip that shows the different characters who really were a part of writing this declaration. So here, this is Ben Franklin. This guy here is John Adams. And I'll get you a clip of the scene. So here is Thomas Jefferson over here. And in this scene, they're up in Philadelphia writing the document together. Kind of like a project. They're older. Jefferson's the youngest. He's in his early 30s. And then Ben Franklin's kind of the elder in the group, and John Adams is probably in his 40s. And you can see here John and Ben looking at Thomas and asking him questions about the document that he wrote. So it really was this human. And that's one thing that we're going to explore today in the document itself. A couple key points to remember. Thomas Jefferson wrote this document, but on behalf of Congress. It is not a letter from Thomas Jefferson. It wasn't signed Thomas Jefferson. It was a big letter from all of the people in the committee, and everybody in attendance signed it. The document is going to be the assignment, but before we get there, I'm going to explain what it says in general. So in the founding document, Congress explains why they are fully justified in separating from England. Why? Why must they leave and declare their independence? By 1776, they had grown so frustrated with the Parliament in England and with a king that the Americans, the new Americans, decided that they would need to form their very own nation. This was extraordinary. It did not have to happen this way, and even until the very end, they were sending out petitions trying to make peace. There was the famous olive branch petition that one of our students brought up, where they tried one last time to say, we don't have to go to war. We would be happy to separate from you peacefully. But England continued to say, no, you're going to stay our colony, and the Americans felt like their hand was being forced. So they defied the British in this letter, in this declaration, and they formed their own nation. But of course, you're only a nation if everybody recognizes that you are a nation. So they had to win that respect by winning the war. Okay, so in your Schoology, you're going to see the document. And I'm going to talk you through it a little bit before I show you the STEM, which is also part of your work for today. So this is day 1. It's a 2-day thing, and you are in the document itself. So what I'm asking you to do today is annotate by summarizing. I write here, this is one of the most important documents in our country. It's not really about whether you find it engaging or exciting or easy to read. It isn't any of those things, but it is very important if you are an American, and you are, for you to see it, to touch it, to at least know a little bit about it. So we're going to do that by annotating in the right in these empty boxes that we are reading at least a piece of the Declaration, and we can understand the gist of it. You're going to start by filling out this chart with about 1 sentence per box that tries to explain what you see over here. So I have separated it into pieces. And then by the time you get to the end of it, you'll have 4 little pieces of your own thoughts that explain what you're seeing in the Declaration. I started with my model, so you don't need to do anything for the first 2 boxes. It says the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. So this is a declaration of the early colonies in 1776. And then I read this paragraph silently, and I decided the best way to summarize that, or put it in my own words, was to write, when a group of people decides to leave their country, they should declare why they're leaving. All right, so for you, what the document actually said was, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. This is difficult language. So as you try to make sense of it, feel free to work with each other, to work in a large group, to parse out the language and demystify it or decode it. It's almost like it's in a different language. So that's the task. And then when you have done that for those 4 sentences, there is a STEM that is much more on your own terms and much more something you can do independently. I'd like you to finish these sentences in your BGD. This is in your Schoology assignment, so you can just copy and paste it over to your BGD, and you are asked to figure out what you would say because the Continental Congress defied the British, even though the Continental Congress defied the British, and when the Continental Congress defied the British. And that is your day 1 of activities.